Hey crew, Mark Headmaker here. Let's talk a little bit about human anatomy. Actually, we're going to talk about boxing and a little bit about strength and how the wisdom of increasing the power of your punches by exploiting how the anatomy works. We know to throw good punches, we're going to be throwing the punch with what? Our arms, as the answer to the question. Part of our arms would be the upper arm, the humerus bone, which actually inserts and goes through the entire shoulder musculature. But the top of the humerus bone, how it also inserts in there, there's many aspects that we're going to call each of these faces of the muscle as the humerus butts into the shoulder joint. One aspect of it is called the greater tubercle. And what this is a little bit of a larger protrusion. And the way this bone works is whenever you're raising your arm in a particular position, sometimes it can kind of get bogged down with how it meets into portions of that joint, particularly the acromion aspect of your shoulder musculature is coming up. So that means you can, sometimes this might even help some of you out there have some shoulder pains. Whenever you've got that greater tubercle that is actually butting into that, kind of grinding it into a little bit, it can be limiting mobility. If you already have some bursitis, tendonitis issues running along with it, you're going to feel this as a bit of a sharp pain, or like actually you hit this, if you've ever done any kind of raising past 50 to 60 degrees and you hit a failure point and it drops back down, or it hurts enough that you want to drop it back down, chances are that's what's happening there. This isn't about diagnosing whatever pains and things you might not have, but it's the wisdom of how old schoolers were throwing their punches, kind of knowing that how the anatomy works. Also the same thing about how in the weeds they were with the early days of the boxing, early days of the rough and tumble, even without maybe being aware of what some of these things were even called and why it was working that way. The early physical cultures, why we're so deep in the weeds with the unlettered conditioning we do about very specific about how you're moving your arms through, because the way that this greater tubercle can actually hit the acromion, different ways we lift the arm are going to, we don't want to butt in that area, and we're actually stealing our strength. Even if we don't have the injury yet, or maybe never even down the road, we still steal a little bit of our own power and strength by forcing ourselves into a position where the humerus does not want to necessarily go. We can make this have more free flowing moment just by how we turn our hands in our internal rotation, which is turning my thumb to the inside, or external rotation by turning my thumb to the outside, meaning just lifting my arm overhead. I can just lift it straight up with my thumb straight up and down, no real rotation on it. If I turn it around and put the thumb this way, I can raise up, and if the shoulder has no injury in it, that still feels fine, but the shoulder is happiest, and we can make these portions of that humerus abutment slide past in there easier if we turn it into external rotation. If I raise my arm in this position, oh, that's even better. This is also one of the reasons why the chin-ups are so much easier to do than pull-ups, because we're moving our hands off into these external rotations as opposed to internal rotation. That's one of the reasons why there's not one single pull-up in the unloaded whole hog conditioning aspect. At least a pull-up is that. There's many different variations, but not this, because we're trying to make sure we're building strength and not gradually doing any kind of abrading of the joints and giving you some bursitis and tendonitis problems down the road. Now, how this affects in boxing, we already know that the most efficient way to lift the arm up and overhead, boop, and turn that arm to the outside. There's actually some scapular pull, and I'm freezing that scapula, we can do that, but that's not what we're talking about right now. To get to the boxing, also the wisdom when we throw the punch, boxers do not throw by staying straight up. When that hand gets turned over into the vertical fist position, the horizontal fist position, the body doesn't stay like this, because we already see if we're getting some abutment from the tubercle to the greater tubercle to the acromion as we're moving to 50 to 60 degrees, we would already be touching on it right here, and over time might wind up with some shoulder problems, or actually the main thing we're thinking now, if we're completely healthy, stealing a little bit of strength out of that punch. So you notice there's not a boxer in the world in the early days of the photos when that hand came out, they didn't stay straight on with it. Even if they went to here, that body starts moving. Why does it do that? It's because it's, lots of other good mechanics, but part of it is also making sure that that fist came out in that horizontal position and the body's moving out a little bit here. So you're kind of faking that good external rotation position, because as soon as we start external rotation right here, we're to the good. And so if I'm here and I stay upright, I'm in kind of an internally rotated position. But if I start taking my body off to the side, I start opening up that external rotation. gives me a little bit more power feedback in that, which is fantastic because we're trying to transfer that in the punch. Same thing when we're throwing hooks. We don't see the hook thrown with the fist in this position because this is coming out again. As we get the raise up, we've got the abutment between the greater tubercle and the acromion again. But if we turn that fist down here and then start moving away at the same time, we've got this same kind of external rotation going on. So we can get some external rotation from here, but if we start leaning into it in this way, we're right back into grinding that up together again. So not hitting this way, open up that palm where you're facing it, greater external rotation position. So whether you're reaching over your head, external rotation, it could be the chin-ups, it could be neutral grip on this, or just reaching up. If you just even want to reach up to something high on your shelf, you've already got shoulder problems, you're just reaching up this way, and you got shoulder problems, think about turn that palm over, reach that palm up, and then turn it as you reach in, turn over your body with it as you grab what you're getting. Already better mechanics, and you'll give me that abutment and abradement going on. If we're doing any kind of punching, the same thing. We want to think about what's the best way to put this in proper alignment for external rotation, because even if you're not throwing your punches with your palm all the way turned over this way, you're trying to find positions that you can make that position happen for yourself by how your body gives you some body English into it. I'm not saying that punches were self-designed that way. I think we kind of fall into these things backwards. We kind of explain the theory after the fact and maybe lose a little bit of what the human anatomy wants us to do naturally in front of that. Then later on, and when we start building systems that try to go against what the anatomy is, then we realize, oh, we're looking at an artificial stylized system that doesn't work anymore. You kind of get some feel of that when we're talking about the true deeper origins of orthodox stances. You can take a look at our most recent blog entry where we're talking about that. But, hopefully you found this kind of thing just as fascinating where you realize external rotation, if I get that with the best, like if I'm choosing a hook, which one's better? Is it going to be palm down or palm face? It could be palm facing, external rotation, because I'm about 50 or 60 degrees when I'm throwing the hook. If I am throwing a straight in punch and I've got the horizontal fist, I don't want to leave the body upright. I want to get that cheat out of it so I can get some external rotation out of it. So anything you do, same thing with the grappling. If you're trying to reach out and grapple with someone and we're trying to keep it too much to the inside position right here, you lose some power out of it. If I can get this and get my grip, move in, and then get that flicked out again, I'm back into external rotation, getting some power, underhooks, external rotation. If I do an overhook, a little bit weird in the shoulder if it's above 50, 60 degrees. If I'm doing any kind of overhook below 50 to 60 degrees, back into having the power. As soon as it starts moving up high, boom, you switch to the underhook position. So if you learn to start thinking about how the body needs to move in every little aspect, whether it's tendons and joints and ligaments, whether it's your conditioning or your combat work, striking, grappling, and then exploiting how the body is going to be the most efficient, well, then your game's going to be a little bit better. So it's kind of not cart before the horse or cart after the horse. You're going to go like, I want my techniques to be something not reflective of how the body really wants to move. Well, that way, eventually, you still a little, when you're healthy, it's going to still a little bit of power in that moment. You won't even be aware of it. Down the road, you're probably building yourself to some sort of use injury, and that can become kind of perpetuated over time. But if it's even small things, picking things out of the shelf, doing this, realizing, oh, down low, I'm okay here, up high, I'm going to start moving my hands over this way. You start thinking that way, living that way, and your combat arts will accelerate. So say I, but what the hell do I know? Thanks for listening to this. If you found any interesting, head for the website, www.extremeselfprotection.com. I'll put a caption on it right there, and you can go over there and take a look for yourself or not. Have a good one, Crow.